Daytona is most often associated with NASCAR and the 500 and 400-mile races that take place along these steeped banks here in the NASCAR season. But to endurance and sports car racing fans, it has a different place in their hearts, as this is the home of the 24 Hours of Daytona, one of the most coveted races to win in all of North America. And today here for the Race Anywhere World Series Leagues, we are happy to be recreating just that event with our two-race format here tonight. And as cars roll off, getting ready to take to this high track, I am DJ Clark, joined here in the commentary booth by Ewan O'Leary with our director and producer Daniel Handover behind the scenes. And Ewan, this is one we've had circled on our calendar the whole year long.
Certainly have. It's a fantastic place to go racing. You mentioned NASCAR at the top there. I mean, some of the racing we're going to see here, it will not be too dissimilar, to be honest. It's going to stay very, very close together. We had two fantastic EU races that really weren't decided until the very final lap, and even during the final lap into the final corners. So expecting or hoping for something very similar here in the US as well. Two good races, especially the sprint race for 25 minutes, not long at all, and no pit stops either. It should keep this front group very, very close indeed in hopefully both categories.
It certainly should, as you saw us run through that qualifying grid very quickly. It is going to be Sean Campbell leading off from pole position here with Alex Trebor to his outside as they get ready for the iRacing pace car to scamper off down pit lane. And all eyes turn to the flag stand here, and Barney the flag man waiting for the green to fly, waiting for Sean Campbell to get onto the loud pedal, and there he goes. We are racing in Daytona. That is a brilliant move from behind from Jeremy Littleton, ducking down to the inside, taking two positions. It's a little bit side by side there between Ouellette and Trebor, and there's going to be contact, as that is, I believe, Trebor getting forced off to the outside. Harry Wills recognizes an opportunity. He's going to be able to get his way on by and move his way up on through. A lot of carnage there coming in, but everybody able to point themselves the right way as the AM categories start to go here green as well.
Absolutely, Alex Trebor went off the road there indeed through the chicane section, unfortunately, so that he has gotten unstuck, unfortunately. However, everybody else got through nice and clean. Slightly more AMs in this field, so let's see if they get through cleanly. It actually looks like they've been a bit more strung out, actually. We saw not quite as packed up of a start there, which is probably a good thing, really, and it certainly appeared so in the AMs so far, and it's been a very good start from both.
Yes, it certainly has. We watch here Andrew Rasmussen under a little bit of a pressure there from Jeff Carollo. Carollo weaving this way, weaving that way, trying to be able to find a gap going down into the kink, and that didn't exactly pay out for him. Now that is Justin Delano up ahead of him as they run. Here is Shreyas Fitzgerald-Ranju well back in the order. He's going to have a lot of work to do here. Remember, he needs to beat Justin Delano, and Delano needs to finish well down in the order if he wants to be able to maybe take away that championship from him. Up at the front of the other field, though, in the pro category, it is Sean Campbell's to win on the day. When we watch here, Harry Wills taking the first advantage of what we will be talking about quite a bit around here, and that is the draft, as he comes in. A little bit of a blink there from Sean Campbell as they work their way onto the start-finish line, coming through the try-over right now, and we're going to get 3x3 here, 3 aside here, with Ouellette sticking his nose on the outside. That is a mega move from Jonathan Ouellette. Tries to slow it down just enough. Campbell's going to be able to try to fight to the inside, but momentum's going to favor Ouellette as they work their way through the S's.
So close and so late on the brakes as well from Ouellette there, but he made it work in the end, and he's going to have the inside line for the International Horseshoe as well, so should get the lead, and Harry Wills is going to follow him through indeed, with Sean Campbell pushed slightly out wide. It looks like Wills will be able to get back through, although Campbell fights back on the inside line towards turn 5, and very nearly loses and gets out of shape as well. Oh, late on the brakes from Harry Wills, gets into the back of Ouellette. They both go a little bit wide, and the Mercedes 1-2 still not quite restored, but it's certainly between these front 3 for the lead.
Yes, it is, as they now work their way on the exit of the infield section there. Campbell looking for a little bit of a crossover as they come. He's going to be able to carry more momentum as we look out in the back here of Jonathan Ouellette's car. That side-by-side Lamborghini versus Mercedes, and Wills there is going to duck back in line and get a big old heaping of the draft, and he's going to hope that can propel him maybe into a move into the bus stop. It is very, very narrow in between them right now as they run. They dive down into the braking zone here for Le Mans, and it doesn't look like we're going to see any change.
We won't into the bus stop, but into turn 1 it looks like we will. We saw this in the sprint race for the EUs as well, actually. It's just madness in this 25 minutes, it really is, because there's no strategy really to it. There's no point in fuel saving. It's just about trying to get the lead and get the win whatever way you can. So it is just going to be overtakes going on and on and on, and Sean Campbell is going to make sure of that by going to the outside line here, and it looks like he's going to take the lead onto lap 3.
Yes, he is going to try to sweep around the outside, much as how Jonathan Ouellette did the last time, but Ouellette's going to try to break a little bit deeper down into turn 1, maybe blunt some of that momentum, forcing Campbell off wide there a little bit. In the back, I believe we've had a spinner. That's Jeremy Littleton, who has gone around, but here comes Campbell fighting back down to the inside of the International Horseshoe. Momentum's going to favor Ouellette there, but there as they go side by side, little bit of a battle here. This is Delano and Metzger battling for the lead of the AM category.
The front 4 of the AMs also very, very close indeed. Justin Delano going to take the lead as he's a bit wide, and Katie Metzger with the nicer line might just be able to hang on here. Through the chicane, he's going to just about stay side by side. Delano very late on the brakes once again, but not really any corner speed there, although he will get the exit, and so will get the lead. There's 2 side-by-side battles going on for the lead at the same time.
Yes, they are absolutely remarkable here. Metzger going to get a little bit of an advantage there through the kink, but the braking line will favor Justin Delano as they go down into the Western Horseshoe. It does look like Metzger is able to carry a little bit more speed, maybe a little bit of contact there behind from Rasmussen to the back of Delano, but they're going to be able to keep things single file here as now Jeff Carollo's getting interested. He's going to send a move there into turn 8, try to be able to get that done, and that Lamborghini getting it done quite easily.
Looks like it, and it's probably the sensible thing for Rasmussen just to stay behind, make sure they don't lose the front 2, because once you're out of the draft here, it's very, very difficult to get back within it again. So you do need to be careful of that, and I think Rasmussen realises that, and moves at the bus stop are not too sensible sometimes anyway, and so he's going to back out of it here. Corolla comes in with a real big load of speed there, and too much speed, and in the end, he's going to cause an incident here, big crash between the two of them.
That is Rasmussen and Carollo hard into the wall, tangling onto the exit there of the Horseshoe. I also see another driver off in the background. Not entirely sure who that is, but I can tell you that Rasmussen has taken a tow. The damage on that car seeming to be terminal here, and that is not good. Jeff Carollo getting passed right now by James Hebb as they work their way around. Carollo, after all of that, is going to find himself in 18th place overall. We check back in on the battle for the pros here. Sean Campbell trying to put a little bit of a move move here on Jonathan Ouellette, but not quite able to get it done. And this has really allowed for Dan Tenorio to get interested in this battle as well, making this a 4-car fight for the lead of the pro category.
Yeah, I'm impressed that Tenorio's been able to get involved, actually, because, well, I suppose the front three were just fighting really hard, and it's allowed him to get back in. Normally, when you are on your own like that, and like Tenorio had been at the start of this race, you don't normally get back to the group, especially with 3 strong drivers like R.A.W.S and Jonathan Ouellette and Sean Campbell. However, Tenorio's managed it with all the fighting that they were doing, so it's now a 4-car train. Looking up the inside there, Ouellette, but he's not going to go for it. This is the incident, this is an incident with R.A.W.S getting things wrong at the bus stop chicane. Goes into that same wall that Jeff Carollo ended up finding himself in, although under very different circumstances. Carollo taking far too much speed on the way in, on the entry to the first part. Unfortunately, caused 3 cars to get slowed up in the AM category. Here it is.
Yeah, it is. So he just brought a lot of speed there, caught the grass. You can see that car swirling, all kinds of out of control, tries to get back onto the track, and that is going to lead to the contact there with Andrew Rasmussen as they got into the corner. So that is what's going to bring them out here as we're about 7 minutes down in the race, and we keep our eyes back on the battle here for the lead of the pro category. Riding on board with Dan Tenorio, that 4th place car. A little bit of a move there from Jonathan Ouellette, trying to take some momentum around the outside of the Western Horseshoe. Doesn't quite look like that's going to pay off. They're going to stay in single file line here as they work their way towards the kink.
Yeah, they will do, as the side-by-side for the lead in AM as well continues on. Metzger versus Delano again, and it's pretty much the same result, almost like watching a replay there between those two, because Metzger's done exactly the same thing to Delano as he did last lap, or the lap before, and so the positions stay the same there. But very interesting to look at that incident again, actually, with Jeff Carollo and Andrew Rasmussen, because I've got to say that I think Rasmussen was a bit careless in the way that he went into the bus stop there. Carollo was clearly coming back onto the line, and he absolutely needed to through the bus stop chicane, but Rasmussen didn't really give him any sort of room to do that. He's just got to lift off a little bit here. He just went through at a normal speed, as if Carollo wasn't there almost, and unfortunately it's ended in the end of both of their races.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. A little bit of a misjudged exit out of the corner. We focus back a little bit further in the field right now. Eric Kulaga currently running in 6th place in that AM category. He's got Fowler, Maling, and Martinez directly up ahead of them. A little bit of a draft train starting to form itself out around here, and this is what we're going to be seeing a lot of, both in the sprint race and in the feature race. It's these draft trains, long cars of everybody taking a big heaping of the draft off of one another.
Yeah, we're going to see that continuously throughout the second race as well, although maybe less apparent because of the length and the pit stop as well. But certainly in this sprint race, we're going to see a lot of this. As Michael Fowler's got to slow down there. That's why he's pulled high to get rid of some of that time and to give back some of those places, as Justin Delano is going to once again attempt to get through on Katie Metzger, but it's proving to be very, very difficult indeed. This Porsche not quite as strong as the Mercedes in a straight line. Whenever Delano just tucks out of line there, he seems to have no speed at all.
No, he really doesn't, but a little bit of an over-under there potentially for Delano trying to get it. Not going to work through the S's. And we have talked about the straight line grunt of that Mercedes over the course of this season, and obviously plenty of trimmings out that these drivers can do to try to get the car to get as much straight line speed as possible. But just when you're running a baseline setup, it seems like that Mercedes is the quickest in the straight line. By the way, the battle up at the front of the pro field does look like it's calmed down for the moment, so we'll keep our eyes here on Delano and Metzger. Now, Delano really needs to focus here, getting that exit out of turn 7. That is one of the most crucial corners on this track. If you're able to get that run on the changing track surface, you can see how it changes up a little bit, and then coming up onto the banking, that can make the difference between a good lap and a great lap.
It's a very, very important corner indeed, as R.A.W.S gets through on Jonathan Ouellette here. Need to make sure that Sean Campbell doesn't get too far away, because he's stolen a bit of a march in this one at the moment. Won race 1 in the EU Championship as well, of course, with a last lap pass at the bus stop chicane. He has gotten out front, but he's going to hit that wall of air, and the Mercedes are going to be onto him as they go down towards turn 1. Looks like R.A.W.S will hold on to second, although Ouellette is so late on the brakes. I've no idea how he manages to do that and still make the corner, but he's done it time and time again, and he might be able to use it to his advantage in the race.
Yeah, he certainly might. I mean, Ouellette just looks like he knows what that braking marker is going down into turn one. And it's a tricky, tricky braking marker. You've got to have a little bit of steering applied and really kind of square off the corner as much as possible to be able to get it right. And that's going to allow for Ouellette to stay ahead here of Harry Wills. Clearly no team tactics going on between these two Twisted Racing Team drivers. But there again, diving a little bit later onto the binders was Ouellette, and that's going to send him around a little bit. We focus back in the Anfield right now. Fabian Ponce trying to be able to get a little bit of a move here on Michael Kulaga as Martinez potentially had a problem. Martinez off track.
Looks like it. He's dropping down the order quite substantially now. And I think it might have just been straight on at the International Horseshoe, really. We see this a couple of times in the EU Championship earlier. Just people missing their braking point and getting right into that outside wall and damaging the car a little bit. I think Martinez may have done something similar, but we'll find out. Fabian Ponce at the moment not able to make his way through on Michael Kulaga. One of these two car battles is going to crop up, and does tend to crop up really as the AB race develops.
Yeah, they certainly do. And the reason you see these couplets start to form is because of the massive efficacy of the draft around here. You are traveling at such high speeds. I mean, these drivers are hitting 170, 180 miles an hour coming across the start-finish line. And with that much speed, there is so much air that is being displaced. And that means the draft is all the more powerful. And so that is why we always see such great racing here at Daytona. But 12 and a half minutes gone. We are already halfway through this first race of the night. Campbell leads up in the pro category by about 0.5 of a second. Behind him, it's Casey Metzger leading the way right now in the battle that you see. Here comes Justin Delano. He's going to have a look to the outside, going through the tri-oval right now. He's going to have to be a little bit later on the binders, try to carry some momentum. You see just how wide he is swinging that Porsche, trying to make it work, going down into turn one, little bit of a pinch, but Metzger's got it covered.
He has once again. The Porsche not really fast enough in a straight line there to overhaul the Mercedes as Fabian Ponce tries to go around the outside of turn one as well. It's not going to work out there. Very, very difficult to be able to do that, and so he'll stay behind in ninth. But yeah, interesting to see that Delano doesn't have the legs on the banking there. He's got to do it in the corners somewhere. Otherwise, he's just not going to be able to do it at all, really, on that Mercedes. I don't know if he can really bank on a run to the line either. He needs the perfect run and kind of the perfect speed to be able to do that. Beat him to the line on the last lap, so I don't think that's reliable at all. Delano's just got to find a way through somewhere. Although, if he does that, will Metzger just come back at him straight away the next lap? Well, we might be about to find out, because it looks like Delano has gotten through to the lead.
Yes, he has, and I think that was a little bit of an unforced error there from Casey Metzger. You saw just how wide he ran on the exit there at turn 7. That upset the car a little bit, and now he is going to be able to tuck up in the draft, as you said earlier there, Ewan. The question is if he tries to make this pass going down into Le Mans. Looks like he's going to back off. He's going to lift there, coming down into the corner, try to set himself up for the best way to attack. Careful not to get an off track there on the last part of the bus stop, though, but he did it well. Now just closing in behind here, closing that gap, coming down under 0.2 of a second.
Yes, and he's surely going to have his nose in front by the line and by turn one as well. Here he goes, outside line, chooses the high side through the tri-oval. Not got as much speed as I thought, and I think just lifted off there. I think he backed off a little bit in towards turn number one. He's realised he's kind of had a dry run there. He's realised I'm probably going to be able to beat Delano to the line here in this situation. Second place might be the place to be right now.
Yeah, it certainly might be. We could be looking at drivers trying to do a little bit of that reverse math. Let's go ahead and check out the replay here. Dean Timms had a problem getting very squirrely coming through the bus stop, and that's going to send him not only into the grass, but into the realm of a slow down penalty. So that is going to put Timms down in the order, and it looks like he is actually down pit lane, opting to call it here early, potentially. I wonder if he picked up a little bit more damage than what we saw on that. But we jump back on board here with the onboard of Metzger. This is Andrew Hewitt, looking like he's coming down here into the first corner, runs it wide, catches that curbing, that's through turn 7, and gets the car sideways. Lucky that he's able to catch it and didn't slide up the banking, but that's going to lose him a bucket load of time regardless.
It will lose him a lot of time. It's certainly not getting that good run onto the banking like we were talking about. a little bit earlier on, as Harry Wills just pushing Jonathan Roulette into contention here. Sean Campbell seems to be quicker than the both of them, but just can't really get away from the draft. You can also see that Dan Tenorio has made a mistake. It also means that he is no longer in the draft here. It's going to be very difficult for Roulette and Wills to be able to overtake Campbell here, but they're almost semi-working together as things stand. Wills pushing Roulette back into contention every chance he can get, really.
Well, and that's some of the NASCAR-style racing that we do sometimes see here on the Daytona road course. That bump draft that we so often see in stock cars has more and more been employed here, specifically in the iRacing simulator when you're running at these high-speed tracks, whether it is Spa-Francorchamps or whether it is here at Daytona. But look at that gap continuing to come down. They're keeping it about 0.5 of a second, so whatever they're doing is clearly working here at this place for Roulette and Wills. They just can't let up, and they've got to keep up the pressure.
Yeah, certainly do. They will do. By the looks of things, Harry Wills very much be looking at the two in front, seeing where he can get to, where he needs to be. They're going to be starting to think about the end of this race, of course, as well. They're coming up towards the end of lap 10, 5 laps to go at the end of this one. So what's the best place to be in going on to that final lap? We can presume maybe that these three are going to go to the line together. It's a pretty safe bet at this point. But in what order do you need to be? In what order should you be? Where should you place your car going into that bus stop chicane? But do you even make your winning move there? That's exactly what Sean Campbell did to win this race in the EU Championship.
Oh, big contact there for Braden Malang, as that is going to send him around, and I'm not sure which of the Twisted Racing Team drivers that got into contact with him, but a little bit of a disagreement coming down into the bus stop, and that was Fowler, we are hearing, that got into the side of him. Oh, and that is just all kinds of miscommunication. Two drivers trying to go into a one-path area.
Yeah, oh dear me, and speaking of one-path areas, here's another one going through the chicane. Luckily, Harry Wills and Jonathan Roulette sorted that one out between themselves, but I mean, it is possible to go through the bus stop chicane side by side, but both of you got to be super respectful and super slow, to be honest, to make your way through there unscathed as well. And unfortunately, that just didn't happen there. Fowler looked like he was on the inside there. Mailing just seemed to me as if he just took the normal line. I don't know if I've got a distorted view of that maybe, but it just looked like he took the normal line. He will argue, of course, that Fowler shouldn't have been there on the inside line going through such a corner like the bus stop chicane, but I think when there's a car on the inside, you can't just argue that they shouldn't be there, because the fact is that Fowler was there, and in the end they've caused damage to each other and themselves.
Yeah, indeed, they have, as we continue to keep our eyes focused on this battle for the lead right now. Campbell, Wills, Roulette, throw a blanket over him, only 0.5 of a second, separating your top three here for the pro category. Dan Tenorio is about 3 seconds back from them as they continue to work their way through and out of the bus stop right now, waiting for that gap to close down a little bit. Harry Wills looks like he's got a good run here. It's coming down under 1/10.5. You can see Campbell trying to run high a little bit there. I'm wondering if Campbell actually wants him to pass him, try to set himself up into position, as now Campbell goes down to the low side. Here we go. It's going to be side by side as they cross the line in Daytona. Waiting to see what it's going to be. That's going to be Wills trying to carry as much momentum as he can around the outside, but he's got to be later on the binders. Campbell doesn't look like he's going to give him any sort of opportunity. Jonathan Roulette thought for a second there about maybe having a look down to the inside of his teammate, but decided better of it.
This is really the point now where they're deciding not to make overtakes, possibly with an eye to the end of the race as well. Are they going to make Campbell lead the entirety of this and then steal it right at the end? We're definitely getting towards that point in the race now with just over 5 minutes. Campbell doing his best to defend, but when you're out front and pushing the win for everybody out the banking on this circuit, it's really very difficult to defend at all, especially against these Mercedes, which are just so strong in a straight line. Campbell just needs the bus stop of his life really on that last lap to be able to carry him to the line, but who knows what's going to happen really. Are we going to see some action before that? Because let's not forget that if Wills and Roulette both believe that second place is the place to be, then they're going to fight over it between themselves, and if they do that too much, they're going to let Campbell walk away with the win.
And that's the last thing they want to do. Campbell has really been the dominant force this season, and I know both of them would be able to love to claim victory here at Daytona. Good closing down there for Harry Wills as they went into the braking zone for the Le Mans bus stop, and it looks like Harry's going to be able to keep that momentum onto the exit. It's already down under a tenth and a half right now. That's the closest we've seen it in a couple of laps. Now they go working their way through. It looks like Campbell's going to make Harry drive on the high side. Now Harry sees an opportunity. He's going to try to work low. Campbell tries to get him just a little bit of a pinch, but not enough to dissuade Harry Wills off of the line. They're going to be just about perfectly parallel as they cross over the timing and scoring line. Harry Wills down to the inside, Campbell to the outside. Campbell a little bit later on the binders. A big twitch for Harry Wills. I don't know how he kept that together, but Campbell finds himself back down in a P2.
Well, that was very sketchy for Harry Wills. He very nearly went off the road entirely, but he has got the lead. Oh, no! Ouellette tries to go to the inside for a move. He gets into the back of Campbell, who goes spearing off into the wall. Ouellette's going to wait, and Harry Wills is going to be able to get away here with a couple of seconds of an advantage. Such a shame for Sean Campbell and Ouellette, who both get caught up in that incident, and Campbell for sure has got quite a lot of damage on that car.
Well, it's hard to see right now because Sean Campbell was in a strange position. He actually found himself wedged between the Armco and the tire barrier. And I have never seen that here at Daytona. The drivers were actually laughing about it over the intercoms there about how that was such a strange situation to see. But as you said, that has now really stabilized this battle up at the front. Harry Wills 1.1 second ahead of Jonathan Ouellette right now. Call it 1.2 seconds. And that is going to be out of effective draft range. Ouellette's going to have to drive the wheels off this thing in the closing couple of moments to be able to actually think about closing in.
I don't really think he's going to be able to. He's only got 2 laps at the line here, and I don't think that's going to be enough for him. But you know, I mean, it's difficult to bet against him sometimes. He's a strong driver, especially in the second half of the season. He has been very strong. But let's have another look at the incident and see where Campbell ended up, really, because it does sound strange. So let's just watching on from behind this pass from Harry Wills, which is very well executed. He's looking to the outside here. He's looking to the outside again. He's going to switch to the inside. Campbell leaves the door open. But then, oh my goodness, wow. I didn't know there was a gap there. And I don't think many people did. But Campbell has suddenly found himself in a maze with no way out. And I think we're going to see the result of that in a second. Yeah, he can't get out the other end. Great. So Campbell can't get out. And I'm afraid he'll be starting the next race from 4th place, which is not too bad for him.
No, it certainly is not, and that is just a very, very strange incident, but we've got a little bit of side-by-side here between Delano and Metzger as they cross over the start-finish line. Delano in that Porsche able to hold on to that advantage for now, but again, that straight-line grunt of the Mercedes certainly will come back to bite, could come back to play here at some point.
Absolutely. I do think that Metzger will have the legs on the straight. If it comes down to it, outside line at the International Horseshoe, not going to go for it there. It is between these two. Delano and Metzger have really been the class of the field in the last few weeks of this season, really. Metzger has really stepped up his game. He's not been strong enough across the season as a whole to really be a factor in the championship, of course. Delano certainly has. But Metzger, in these last few weeks, especially as we gone to the American circuits of Sebring and Daytona, he really has stepped up his game. He won race 1 last week, came 3rd in race 2, came 2nd in race 2 2 weeks ago as well at the final European race of the season. So that was at the Nürburgring. So he certainly knows what he's doing and certainly has been really getting to grips with this championship over the last few weeks, and now looking for another race win, his 2nd race 1 victory in 2 weeks.
As they continue to work their way around right now, Kulaga just holding on to that 3rd place position right here, working their way through. But we've got to keep our eyes focused here on this battle for the top spot in that AM category. As I believe here, these drivers, yes indeed, will be coming to the white flag. Does Metzger have anything?
Does he have anything here? I think he's realised that if he does this next lap, he'll be able to beat Delano to the line. Will he take 2nd place now and then draft forward to the lead? I think he's playing this one, or is he? Is he trying to do this on the road? Oh, he's got to the outside at turn 1. He's lost it on the oversteer, and I'm afraid that looks like it's it. Delano looks like he's going to get away with the win.
Yes, he is. Delano able to hold out there as more drivers cross over the start-finish line. Looks like that's Fabian Ponce trying to close down on Michael Kulaga up ahead of him. A little bit of a battle starting to go. This down for 6th place in that AM category.
Good effort into turn 1, and once again, good defending from Kulaga into the international horseshoe. So there's no way that Ponce will be able to get through. He tries to get on the power too early, and that might well just shut out any chances he has of getting through at all on this lap. Never mind going down towards the West Horseshoe here. So there we are. But yeah, not able to get through as the leader, R.A.W.S, will be making his way down towards the line right now, making his way down towards the tri-oval.
Yes, he will, as R.A.W.S comes out of the bus stop down into that final corner and takes the checkered flag here at Daytona. A well-earned victory for R.A.W.S. Jonathan Ouellette will follow him home in second, and Dan Tenorio rounds out your podium.
Slightly controversial one. R.A.W.S gifted it a little bit, but there's no questioning that he put in the work in terms of driving performance there to take that victory. It's hard to say whether he would have won it with Ouellette, Tenorio and Campbell, everybody there towards the line, but who knows? Justin Delano certainly did win it fair and square, though. Metzger gave it all into that first corner on the last lap, but I don't really feel like he needed to. He did either way. He spun out, and Justin Delano picked up the pieces.
Yeah, certainly did pick up the pieces quite well there. You can see Delano coming across the line, just kicking up a few of the cones there as they go. Here is Ponce in a very close battle with Kulaga. Who's it going to be as they come to the line? Contact there between the two. Kulaga by the merest of margins.
Very, very close between those two. I thought with that mistake out the international horseshoe that Fabian Ponce didn't stand a chance of going through there, but in the end, he did. Unfortunately, not quite enough of a chance. If he'd just been that little bit closer, he might have been able to do it, but unfortunately wasn't, and wasn't able to get through. As we wait for the final few drivers to come across the line. By the way, the amount of drivers that have been in the pit lane here in this race has been absolutely unbelievable. 8 of the 24 drivers making their way down pit road in a 25-minute race is quite remarkable. 1/3 of the field having problems in that race.
Yeah, a very, very hefty attrition right here. And let's run you through the final finishing order here of today's race, as all drivers have been able to cross over the start-finish line as of right now. It was R.A.W.S able to take victory over Jonathan Ouellette, Dan Tenorio, and Jeremy Littleton. Sean Campbell ended up in 5th place, and then we get into some of those drivers that had those issues. Dean Timms, Ariel Rexroy, and Alex Schreber. And then let's run through the AM category as well here, Ewan.
Absolutely. Justin Delano taking that victory, and with it pretty much confirms the AM Championship as well. Casey Metzger 2.5 seconds back, with Eric Kulaga rounding out the podium. Stephen Martinez finishing ahead of Shreyas Venkataraju, which is a bit of a surprise, but after all, he did qualify quite far down. Michael Kulaga held off Fabian Ponce to the line. James Hebb got over the line in 8th. Matthew Plaisance and Andrew Hewitt rounding out the top 10. Michael Fowler and John Casey, the final drivers to finish on the lead lap. Jeff Carollo did see the second flag, albeit a few laps down. Braden Melling didn't return from the pit lane after his spin. Andrew Rasmussen and Daniel Florea will not even get the benefit of the reverse grid. They will start at the back.
Yes, they will, and that is right. We are not done for the action here today. We still have the full feature 50-minute race in store for you here for the World Series League GT3 Championship. So Ewan and I are going to take a quick break and step away from the microphones here, but stay tuned to the channel. We'll be back in just a few moments' time to bring you all of the rest of tonight's racing action. Welcome back to Daytona International Speedway as we get ready for the second race here tonight for the World Series League's GT3 Trophy Championship. My name is DJ Clark, joined here again by Ewan O'Leary as we get ready to go racing for a full 50-minute race out on track. And Ewan, that's going to include pit stops, and around a long circuit like this with those high speeds, it's going to add another interesting wrinkle into everything: fuel saving.
Certainly is, and it's going to mean it's going to be a little bit different. We saw in that previous race, both Pro and Am races came down to the very end with groups at the front, very, very close indeed. I can't see that happening again, really, because of the way that the strategy is going to work and the fuel saving and whatever. But that means it will, or it doesn't mean rather that it won't be interesting.
For sure. There you can see the starting order up in the pro category. Timms, Campbell, Littleton, Tenorio, Ouellette, Wills, and Urexoy. Down in the AMs, it's going to be them there: Hewitt, Plaisance, Heb, Ponce, Kulaga, Raju, Martinez, Kulaga, Metzger, Delano, Rasmussen, and Florea that round out your 23-car field here on the day. Going to be very, very interesting to see what drivers are going to be able to do, looking particularly at Harry Wills, Jonathan Ouellette, R.A.W.S trying to move their way forward a little bit, and if they're going to be able to catch Sean Campbell. Remember, that incident near the end of the race there set him back down in the order, and as a result, he's going to be starting off in second.
Absolutely. I said earlier he was starting a bit further down. I'm mistaken because, of course, we didn't see Alex Treber or R.A.W.S complete enough laps to have benefit from the reverse grid, so unfortunately for them. So Sean Campbell will be starting from second. I think that's going to be a real problem for the likes of Harry Wills, Jonathan Ouellette, Tenorio, pretty much everybody who's got to make their way through the field a little bit before Campbell can get away. I think Campbell is going to get away if they're not careful. If Campbell takes the lead at least through turn 1 and 2, then they could be in real trouble behind, because of course they do have to get through quite a lot of cars. However, they did manage it quite quickly in the EU Championship. It wasn't like Sebring, where the leaders stayed at the back for a very long time. They were able to get to the front quite quickly.
Yes, they were, as here they start to line themselves out onto this long front straightaway, waiting for that iRacing pace car to scamper off down pit lane. Dean Timms will take control of the field as they get there, and here they go, ready to get onto the loud pedal. When does Timms decide to go? It is just about now as he gets onto the loud pedal and takes off, going going down the main straightaway right here, working their way down into turn one. It looks relatively spread out, although Campbell tries to have a little bit of a look down to the inside, side by side there in the back between Littleton and Tenorio, Ouellette and Wills as they go almost three wide, working their way through the S's, but somehow they're all able to fan themselves out and get through cleanly.
Oh, indeed, big dive as well from Wills there up the inside of Tenorio, and he needs to do this, although Campbell wasn't able to get off to as good of a start as maybe expected. He wasn't able to take the lead, at least didn't quite get the jump, as we see the ARM leaders getting underway now. Very long time until Brendan Melling finally goes. It's going to lead to a very stacked up field going towards turn one.
Yes, indeed, it is a lot of 2x2 there as they go down into the corner. Mailing going to hold it off. Jeff Carollo trying to do what he can. Looks like John Casey trying to send a move there around the outside, but Casey's probably not going to be able to get that done, and indeed Carollo's going to be able to pull himself ahead as they fire through. Looking back there at James Hebb as he tries to work his way through the field. Going to take a dive down to the inside there of Andrew Hewitt through the International Horseshoe. Looking for grip is that Lamborghini, and it looks like he's got it.
Yeah, very nice dive actually, to be able to pull it up like that and then have the speed through the corner and on the exit as well to be able to execute that is very impressive indeed. As Jonathan Ouellette is struggling to make his way through the field. Urexoid puts up a bit of a fight, and that's not what Ouellette wants you to see, as Littleton has ended up in the wall through the bus stop chicane, unfortunately.
Yes, he has, but we've got another battle here with Fabian Ponce and Shreyas Raju as they try to work their way through the field right now. Oh, Ponce caught over on him, and that's going to be contact. Big, heavy contact.
Oh, there's so many cars involved in this one as well. Kulaga also piled in there. Eric Kulaga, that is. So many different cars and drivers piled into that one. Delano got through quite nicely. It looked like most of the top 10 did, but outside of that, everybody got caught up in that. There's almost nowhere to go when you get involved in an incident at that kind of point in the racetrack. There's just no space. There's no runoff to be able to avoid it.
Yeah, there really isn't. As here, Ponce, you can see really struggling for speed. That's going to be Andrew Hewitt able to get on by the clearly damaged BMW going down into the bus stop as he sweeps around the outside. Fabian Ponce just trying to gather up the pieces back here, but we focus on Dean Timms, who is down in second right now. Sean Campbell able to get around him, but Harry Wills able to move up 3 positions here on that opening lap. He's got his Twisted Racing Team teammate directly up ahead of him, and he is going to be trying to close in, be able to get that gap and take the fight here to Sean Campbell.
Looks like the front three will be able to stay together, although Dean Timms, as he was saying a little bit earlier on, just struggling to keep pace with these pro drivers just a little bit in this field right now. Really struggling to get involved. So Sean Campbell will be able to get a bit of a gap here unless Harry Wills can really overtake Dean Timms very soon here and stop bridging that gap himself. He needs to make sure that Wills that he doesn't lose the draft here, but you've already seen what happened to Ouellette in the background there after not having a very good start. When you don't get the draft and you don't get the benefit of that, really, it really does hurt you throughout the race. So he does need to be careful that that doesn't happen to him as well as they make their way down towards turn one. It looks like Dean Timms is doing a pretty good job though.
Yeah, it certainly does. Just keeping up nice and behind. Doesn't need to send too big of a move, although he's thinking about a little bit of a move there to the outside of Sean Campbell, and Campbell lets him on by. It looks like there that Timms is going to run a little bit wide. Campbell looking for a little bit of retribution as they work their way through the S's. He's certainly going to hold that Lamborghini out, trying to fight around the outside. Now backs off a little bit. That's going to allow for Dean Timms to be involved, for Harry Wills rather, to be involved in this conversation. And Wills is able to get a nose ahead there of the Lamborghini as they thunder out of the International Horseshoe, and Campbell loses 2 spots.
Does indeed has to go to the back of the group, and now this is settling into a free car battle that was here to stay at least until the pit stop phase will begin in about 15-20 minutes time. So it looks like this race will start to settle in from this point on. We thought that in the EU Championship, but it never really did throughout that one. We thought that there would be a little bit of fuel saving, thought there'd be a bit of follow the leader going on, but that never really materialised in the end. We'll see if it finally does here in the US Championship. I mean, it's very hard to tell because at the moment it just looks like everybody wants to overtake at every opportunity, really.
You know, and one of those that wants to overtake there was Sean Campbell, taking a little bit of a look there to the outside of Harry Wills as they came out of NASCAR too. But they're going to be in single file order as they now dive down through Le Mans, waiting to see if anything's going to play itself out here. They all look pretty equidistant. No real difference in between them as they fly. Sean Campbell trying trying to be able to see if he's going to be able to pull in just a little bit here. He is certainly bridging the gap down underwards of about 0.2 of a second.
He's going to keep closing and closing. The team seems to be very fast in a straight line, it's got to be said. And Sean Campbell only just able to edge up alongside R.A.W.S and not going to be able to go through. A lot of lifting off going down there towards turn one, especially from Wills and Campbell, who will go and save a lot of fuel in this race if they stay behind Dean Timms, which they may well do for the remainder of this stint. Stretch this one out and just really shorten that pit stop time, which is going to be very, very helpful for them throughout the race. If Timms just goes at full pace at the front of this group for the entirety, burning all the fuel, then he's going to be nowhere near them by the end of the pit stop phase.
Yeah, exactly, and I wonder if this is a little bit of strategy calculation on the fly here for Sean Campbell. If we see him be aggressive and attack a little bit early on here, try to get by Wills and all of them, and then back himself off. Got a little bit of side-by-side here. Delano trying to be able to get by Kulago right now. He's going to have a nose ahead as they come off to the corner, but he is going to have to make this work going down into turn one. That Porsche looks like it's found its straight-line speed as he works across the start-finish line, gets onto the binders. That's going to be Delano up into 8th.
It's quite remarkable, really, that we've seen so many incidents in the AM category and so many gaps already. Not even 10 minutes into this race, there's so many gaps in the AM field. It's so different to the pros, which are almost 5 for the lead now with Jonathan Lett and Dan Tenorio. You can see for Delano, he's going to have to pick off one car at a time, then bridge a bit of a gap to the next one, then pick off them as well. It's going to be a pretty long race for Justin Delano. But of course, the official championship waiting for him at the end of it, so it won't be too bad as Andrew Rasmussen has found himself off the road.
Yeah, not sure exactly there what happened to Rasmussen, but we've got to check back in as we come out of NASCAR, the tri-oval rather, as Campbell had another little bit of a look there to the outside of Harry Wills, but Wills with some deft defense, able to put up a blocker there. He's not going to have anything by is Sean Campbell, but these two have got to worry about, as you mentioned a little bit earlier here, Ewan, all of this squabbling up at the front of the field. This is really allowing for Ouellette and Tenorio to be able to catch back in. They're only about 1.1 seconds behind. They're going to start to feel a little bit of the draft as they get onto NASCAR 1 and 2 and 3 and 4.
Yeah, it's largely staying the same between these three at the moment. But I think the thing they're slightly worried about is Ouellette and Tenorio just in behind, catching up here with Ouellette at the front of that little group. I think they very much could get onto the back of these guys, especially if there's a lot of fuel saving and just waiting around going on. Could well have 5 for the lead very soon, but once again that does change things, and it will change throughout the race because of the pit stop phase. We'll see if Sean Campbell even wants to get on with that and make it or at least push on and make up room right now. Does he want to go through? Not really. You see how much lifting off is going on in this group. Campbell and Wills have got to be saving so much fuel.
Yeah, indeed it is, and crucially, that just means that they're going to be able to take a little bit less in the pit stop. We do check back in on the battle right now for the lead of the AM Championship right now, or the AM battle right now, as Jeff Carollo in that Lamborghini able to hold on ahead of Braden Mailing right now. Mailing just kind of putting Carollo through his paces here. I think he's doing a lot of lifting and coasting. He's not necessarily backing off all that much.
Really. It's once again, I said it earlier, but it's so surprising to see the Anfield the way it is at the moment. I know there was that big crash, of course, involving Fabian Ponce, which took out quite a lot of cars. However, in front of that, there were still quite a few cars who were very much getting through with that unscathed, and it is surprising to see the way this has developed now. Mailing just with free rein, really, on Corolla to see if he can make his way through. For sure, there'll be lots of chops and changes throughout this race, but looks like these two are going to go for the win, really. You can just see in the background there's been so much damage further down.
Yeah, there really has a lot of drivers suffering here, and that is a real shame because this is a 50-minute race out on track, and so that is certainly going to take it out of these drivers, that have to be said. Harry Wills, though, doing a good job of keeping behind as we're going to check out a replay here. This is Andrew Rasmussen. Not sure what happened to him. Looks like that car's just starting to rotate a little bit overly, going down into the International Horseshoe. The rear end starting to break away, and you can already see a little bit of the front damage on that car, so that car was limping to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the AMs particularly are limping at this stage, and damage at any circuit is obviously not a great thing, but here at Daytona it is even more apparent for you because you spend so long just flat out using the aero, of course, trying to cut through the air as efficiently as possible. But when you've got damage, you just cannot do that anymore, and you cannot really get anywhere. We saw that in the EU Championship with Timothy van der Broek, who should have been making his way through the Anfield throughout race 2, but just couldn't with heavy front end damage. It's the same for any of these drivers in here as well. Just any sort of damage is going to hold you back so much.
Yeah, it certainly is. Look at this. We've now got a 5-car scrap up for the front of the field. Zuleta and Tenorio have been able to gain back in, catch up to the front of these field, but they are going to all break down in single file order here, going down into the first corner. Nobody looking too aggressive. Campbell taking a little bit of an alternate line there, trying to see if he can maybe find a little bit of something over Harry Wills, but it doesn't quite look like he is going to be able to get that done there, so he's going to stay in line right now.
Is for the moment probably the sensible thing to do, and this is more like what we expected from the EU race earlier on. A little bit of more conservative driving, a little bit more fuel saving, a little bit more staying in line. It was pretty mad really, the race, especially the first 20 minutes or so. Really chaotic in the pro field. They were in a group like this, but just overtaking each other constantly, but that's not happened here at all. Been very much staying behind one another. And that seems to have filtered down through the whole field, really. Everybody content with where they are, just waiting for the latter portion of this race. Real excitement, and the real chops and changes are going to happen throughout the pit stop window. And it may even start in 10 minutes' time. And somebody making an early pit stop, maybe, having saved a bit of fuel. But let's wait and see how far they can go.
Yeah, we will have to see indeed. As there they work their way down to the bus stop, maybe trying to see if anybody's going to be able to get a good run off of the corner. Doesn't quite look like it there, as they're all going to be pretty spaced out. I think the closest two that we have right now are Dan Tenorio and Ouellette back a little bit further in the field. Sean Campbell certainly not close enough to Harry Wills to really be able to effect a pass here as they go now down into the corner. Waiting to see. Oh, we may have a little bit of movement up at the front of the field as Wills is all over the back of Dean Timms, but I think that was just a little bit of a bump draft, and he's already backing off down into turn 1.
Yeah, lots of backing off going on, really. I was kind of surprised that Campbell let such a big gap open in the first place to the car in front of him, but it didn't matter in the end, really, as Delano tries to make his way through on Daniel Florea. We'll be seeing a lot of this from Justin Delano in this race, even though he's only in 5th place already. There'll be a lot of periods where we don't see him at all, and then where he does finally make his way through on a single car, kind of defenceless on its own, really. And Florea will be one of those here. Even the McLaren straight line speed, I don't think he's going to be able to save him, although he has pushed Delano right up to the high side there. Unless Delano can use the banking to his advantage, which is pretty rare to see, and he won't be able to get through here. But tucks back into the slipstream again, goes back alongside him again, and looks like he's going to have the move down into turn 1 here.
Oh, but that McLaren being a little bit feisty, trying to push him a little bit wide as they cross over the timing and scoring line. Delano going to really have to work for this, be later on the binders, and Florea, I dare say that was almost a little bit of a hip check, just moving out under braking, making sure that Delano couldn't get the line done. Some really heads-up stuff there, but here comes Delano thinking about a move down to the inside. That's not going to play out. He's going to stay in single-file order, but look at that launch off of the corner for the Porsche.
Yeah, it's a trademark trait, really, of the Porsche, just to have that punch off the corner. In the end, wasn't good enough on that occasion, but Delano does love using this infield section to try and craft some moves. We saw it from him on his move on Casey Metzger earlier on, who's way down the field now in this race, of course, but in the first race he was trying to get a move done through the infield section and ended up doing it, trying to do the same to Florea here, because out on the banking he does seem to struggle with making moves a little bit.
Yeah, it just doesn't quite seem like he has the straight line grunt to be able to get over that McLaren, and that's a little bit of what we saw from Delano in the first race. Remember, he just didn't quite look like he had the straight line speed in that Porsche, but now as they come into the bus stop, he's at least able to keep nice and close behind as they go, trying to see what he can do here, working through. Good run there out of the bus stop. This could be the move that he was looking for.
And once again, he's forced to the outside so early that he's not going to get any benefit from slipstream. He's going to have to go the long way around the banking as well. Florea defending kind of strangely as well, but it's also sort of working. So fair play to him. He's once again onto the inside line. Obviously used a bit of the banking there. Now Delano pushed to the outside line again. Will it finally work this time? The McLaren's just too strong, and looks like Delano might have tried to sell him the dummy. Has it worked or not? It looks like it might have done.
Looks like it might have done, but he's trying to avoid a little bit of excess rotation there down to the inside, and Florea still keeps it ahead. My goodness gracious!
Well, that is unbelievable. I can't really believe that he's managed to hold on to the lead in that way, really, on the outside line, especially in the McLaren. It's not really great into turn 1 and 2, it's got to be said, but Florea able to hold on very nicely. As Dean Timms, by the way, has made a mistake on this previous lap because he's dropped from 1st to 5th.
Yeah, he certainly has. Not entirely sure where he made that mistake, but the mistake was made nonetheless as we continue to watch this battle between Florea and Delano. Delano backing up through turn 7 a little bit, maybe trying to get a little bit of a better line coming through the corner, jumping back around in the field. Here we keep our eyes focused, and Delano's got it done!
Yes, finally, Florea just went way too deep into that final corner before the banking, and Delano, with a much nicer line, was able to get to his inside and get through. You just need the inside line around the banking. Push your opponent up high and you'll be through, as Rasmussen gets his through Venkatarazu, and then, spins in front of him. Good avoidance, but in the end, Rasmussen going to lose out quite dramatically from that, and thankfully was able to get out of the way from that dangerous spot.
Yeah, very heads up there from Vetkataju to be able to get that done. We now ride on board with Fowler, trying to come up behind Eric Kulago right now, working his way up forward. That gap starting to shrink down a little bit as they get into the draft zone here. And the damage on the back there of Kulaga's Audi, you can see that left wing a little bit crinkled. That means that he's going to be suffering in a straight line, and Michael Fowler's got to be licking his lips here at this point.
Absolutely. When you see some damage like you can see in front of you like this, it does really incentivize you a little bit to make this move, and certainly going to be doing that for Michael Fowler as they all slow up dramatically with a slow Ferrari just up in front. Could be Steven Martinez just up in front, although I'm not entirely sure. Could also be Andrew Hewitt, I suppose, but either way, Fowler's surely going to be able to make this move very, very soon indeed. You see a damaged car like that in front of you at Daytona, you know that it's not going to exactly be a very difficult move.
Yeah, exactly. You just have to be able to nail the exit here, I think, off of turn 7 and hope that you're able to get the push off of the corner. And it certainly does look like that Michael Fowler was able to do just that, keeping that gap down to about 3.5 tenths of a second. Harry Wills, though, looks like he's made a little bit of a mistake. I think that could have been a cut course penalty, and he finds his way all the way down into 3rd.
Looks like it. He's slotted in front of Dan Tenorio somehow. So unlike Dean Timms, who made a mistake earlier, Harry Wills at least able to stay in the group, but he has allowed Sean Campbell to get to the front. Now, how much pace does he have here, Campbell? Will he be able to get away and pull a bit of a gap? It's very difficult to actually break slipstream at Daytona, but you can put a bit of pressure on the drivers behind, and that's exactly how Dan Tenorio lost the draft of the front group in the first race.
Yeah, exactly. It is. You've just got to keep yourself as close as possible. And so here for Wills and Roulette, they're going to be trying to hold on to the back of that screaming Lamborghini up ahead of them behind the wheel of Sean Campbell. We're going to go back and take a look at the replay here. Oh, it wasn't a slowdown. That was just a big wiggle there from Harry Wills. It looked like he caught the curbing on pit exit, and that upset the number 95 car.
It really did. And somehow he was able to hold on. I mean, Ouellette did a pretty good job to dive down his inside, really. It wasn't really an obvious move, but he went for it and pulled it off. Harry was just giving him a bit of helping hand now, bumping him back towards Sean Campbell, who does seem to be the strongest out of these drivers. He saved a lot of fuel towards the start of this stint, and so he's able to really open the taps a little bit now, although swings a bit wide, almost wanting Ouellette to go through, although he won't be able to, and now the lifting off begins again.
Yeah, lifting off begins again here as they come down through the corner. Ouellette does keep that door just a little bit open to the outside. Will's not going to be able to go for the move there. They do have to be a little bit careful. Defensive line there for Wills on Dan Tenorio coming down to the International Horseshoe. They've got to be a little bit careful as Campbell has been able to extend out a gap here of about 5 seconds, or 5/10 of a second rather.
Yeah, 5 seconds is what he needs rather than what he's got at the moment, really. It's just very narrow margins up the front, but not a great deal. And all will really happen now until the pit stops are really made. That's where the real interest is going to be. How much fuel have these guys saved? I think Harry Wills will have quite a lot, really, because he's not really seen the front of the field for too long. He was able to sit in behind Dean Timms for a while. No, he's sitting behind Ouellette. I know it was due to a mistake, but I don't think he's been flat out for much of this race. He's going to be able to save a bit of fuel. I think Campbell was saving loads earlier, but now he's starting to open the taps of it and use a bit of that fuel. So how long is his pit stop time going to be? The pit stop times are going to be so crucial because it's going to be the difference between getting in the draft or not, and that's pretty much going to decide your race at this circuit.
Yeah, it really and truly is. If you lose touch with that draft as a courtesy of the fuel sequence, it is almost impossible to be able to gain it back. And I can tell you a very, very scary thought here that I have covered Sean Campbell in a multitude of series, and Sean is one of the best fuel savers in the game. And so I would be very, very concerned if I was Ouellette, Wills, or Tenorio here that they lose touch with that number 26 up ahead of them.
Looking to the inside again for Harry Wills, not able to go through. Ouellette's so late on the brakes though into turn 1 and 2. Somehow he makes the corner as well every time, although he does go a bit wide this time, and Harry Wills might be able to go through the chicanes. Goodness me, out onto the grass for Ouellette, but Wills able to capitalise on that mistake a little bit and to go through into second place.
Yeah, great move there from Harry Wills to be able to get that done. He's now going to focus his eyes up on the road, about 57 hundredths of a second, separating himself from Sean Campbell. That is still crucially within the draft range, and we're really going to be able to see here at this point just how much Jonathan Ouellette was potentially holding up Harry Wills. Over the course of this season, Wills has been the one to take the fight here to Sean Campbell, and so now as these two titans end themselves out back at the front of the field, how is this going to shake itself out? By the way, back down in the AM category, not missing much. Jeff Carollo been able to open up that gap to about 1.9 seconds over Braden Maling. This is still the best battle we've got out on track.
It's far closer between these four. Tenorio is an interesting one as well, isn't he? He's just sat on the back here. We're on board with him now. What is he planning in this race? How much is he saving in this race at the moment? We saw in race 1, he was basically ejected out the back of this group in a very similar situation because of the pace put on at the front. This time he's able to stay with it a little bit more, but I wonder if that is because of the fuel saving going on. It's definitely not hurting him to stay in this group, although Ouellette did make a bit of a mistake through the bus stop chicane there and was pushing Campbell away a little bit. There's some mind games starting to go now as they reach the halfway distance. Some people almost faking as if they're going to go to the pit lane, and that's going to be on each of these drivers' mind now. When do you come into the pit lane? When's the ideal time? How much fuel do you put in the car? All of these calculations have got to be made, and it's really crucial for this race, and it's going to decide this race. One of these drivers could come out with a lead of more than a second or two, and that'll be pretty much be it. It'll be difficult to get them back.
Yeah, it'll be very difficult to get them back, and they've just got to hope here that none of that comes around to bite them. As now we look down through the corners here, riding on board with Dan Tenorio, the fourth in this train, waiting to see if anything's going to fire itself off, but I think this is all fuel conservation mode. All four of these drivers recognize exactly what's at stake, and we are ticking closer and closer to the half-minute point. It is about a minute and a half away from 25 minutes, or half race distance, and we do tend to see drivers kind of come in around that time, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see them coming in now.
I wouldn't be either. I mean, we saw pit stops a little bit earlier than this, even for the EU Championship race earlier on. It was Chris Charlton who had the idea to come in. There was so much fuel saving going on that it was almost quicker going on your own. I don't think it's quite as extreme in this group as it was earlier. But Thomas Cope basically wasn't pressing the throttle for some of the race in the EU Championship, and Chris Charlton thought, well, I might as well try this one on my own. In the end, it didn't work out, but it'd be interesting to see when the first pit stops are made here. Are these guys just going to run these tanks dry? Because if they do, we could see the first pit stops in 10 minutes' time, and that's the greatest thing about this pit stop window and the series that we're in. Just the pit stop window is so wide here that you can. We can really see pit stops from even 5 minutes ago, and it would have worked out, and we could still be seeing them in 10 minutes time. It really is a bit of a mystery, and there is no right way to do it either, really.
No, there really isn't. It all just comes down to execution in the pit stops. That is really and truly what it will all rely on being here for them as we look out the back here of Sean Campbell's number 26 Lamborghini, keeping that gap at about 0.4 of a second between himself and Harry Wills. Harry Wills doing a good job of just keeping everything nice and easy together here as it is officially half race distance here. 15 laps done as drivers work their way out of the Western Horseshoe. This leading pack here has separated a little bit, but they're all within touching distance at this point, so it certainly means that there is plenty of time here to still fire off and a battle still to be fought up at the front of the field.
I mean, the pace is not that high, clearly. I didn't quite realise this, but Dean Timms is trying to get involved here. I mean, with all respect to Dean, of course, the AM champion in the EU Championship. He is in the Pro Series here for the US Championship, and he's closing in on these guys, closing in on Series Champion Sean Campbell here. So, and that's a bit of an anomaly to see, to be fair. So, I mean, it does just show that the pace is not very high at the front of the race right now. Although they are in the mid-43s, it's strong pace. It's very strong pace from Dean Timms, who's in the low 43s at the moment. He got an off track on the last lap. If not, he would have had his best lap of the race so far. So he's clearly going very well. We see some of the more damaged cars a little bit further down in the AM category, like Eric Kulaga here coming up against Michael Kulaga.
It's a battle of the Kulagas, Audi versus Ferrari here right now as they try to work their way around. We already documented that rear wing damage to the back of Eric Kulaga. He is probably going to be hoping for pit stops to come in to maybe get just a little bit of repair done on that, if at all possible. But there, as we ride on board with the Ferrari, you can see him just hugging down to that yellow line, trying not to push too hard, get outside of the boundaries. You don't want to flirt with that. Get down into the apron, as that's a one-way ticket to spin you right around.
Yeah, absolutely, you want to get as close as possible, really, without clipping the apron. You will go around, certainly. But even then, it's not too important to shave the thousandths of a second off by getting as close to that yellow line as possible. Just keeping it close enough is absolutely fine, as these guys are demonstrating here now. Justin Delano, by the way, has gotten into the top three as well with a pass on Matthew Plaisance. And John Casey comes in, the first of the drivers without issues so far in this race to come in.
And here's a replay here of Justin Delano going down into the bus stop on the back stretch. Excuse me, that's on the front stretch there. Woo-hoo-hoo! He knew exactly where that Porsche's boundaries were and shut the door. Great job there to be able to get by Plaisance.
Yeah, it was very close indeed to a bit of a disaster, really. Didn't really need to get that close to Plaisance, but thankfully it didn't matter, and they all got away with it. But yeah, it wasn't too necessary from Delano, playing with fire a little bit where he doesn't need to. But there we are, up to third place now. Can he catch Brady Manning and Jeff Carollo? I don't think there's long enough in this race, really, to be able to catch them, especially with the pace that Carollo has got, actually. He is fifth place in the standings, of course. Carollo won the very first race 2 that we had in this season, all the way back at Le Mans. And it looks like he's going to bookend this season with race 2 victories.
I think he very well might be as well as he continues to work his way around Campbell, though still under some pretty heavy pressure here from Harry Wills. The gap coming down to about 0.3 of a second right now as they fly their way through the kink, working on minute 28 here, lap 17. Only about 20 minutes left to go in this race, and we are waiting for any of these drivers up front to blink, waiting for those pit stops to fire off, as that is really going to determine the pecking order for this race.
It is, and we'll see where we're at soon, really. But in terms of the front of this one, Dan Tenorio has lost the draft at the moment, so Dean Timms has picked it up, but Dan Tenorio has lost the draft here. The pace has very much gone back into this race just a little bit. We're into the high 42s, low 43s now from Sean Campbell. It's very, very quick indeed. It's stretching out this group. And Dan Tenorio has been fired out the back, almost like he was in race 1. As we've got lap traffic here that might halt Sean Campbell a little bit. Looks like he's gotten away with it.
Yeah, able to get away with it. They are getting by some of those lap Ferraris there as now they work their way down through the corners here through NASCAR 3 and 4. That's not going to be a big hurt to any of them. Let's see here. Does anybody make that lean down into pit lane? No, it doesn't look like it, but I'll tell you what there, that was Harry Wills with a good run coming out of the corner, although he did choose to back off just a little bit.
did, and it's probably the sensible thing. It does look like these guys are just going to run the tank completely dry, and with nearly 30 minutes gone in this race, just going to run it to the end of their tanks and then see where we're at. So it's all going to come down right to the very end here. I do feel like Campbell is going to come in one of these laps coming up soon, and R.A.W.S will be able to go one more given the amount of time that he's spent in the slipstream and just lifting off, especially down towards turn 1.
Yeah, indeed, as they work their way through there, trying to find what they can get now, as everything continues to play itself out a little bit. Will's closing in behind. Here is the battle of the Kulagas, as it does look like Michael was able to get by his damaged Audi compatriot there of Eric Kulaga. That straight line speed just not helping him out.
It's absolutely not. The damage is just hurting his straight line speed so much. You can see in the slipstream here, he's supposed to be gaining really quickly here and getting onto the back of that Ferrari. You can just see him making absolutely no progress at all. And yeah, there it is. How are you going to make an overtake with a car looking like that? And how are you going to keep drivers behind? It's very difficult for Eric Kulaga, but I'm sure he expected that when he looked in his rearview mirror and saw the rear wing all out of shape. He saw the damage. I think he's accepted it at this point. This car is very damaged.
Yeah, very damaged indeed, and he's just trying to limp that thing home here at this point as they go. Big gaps, really and truly, all up through the field, but we've almost got a little bit of a bump draft going on as we cross over the start-finish line here between Sean Campbell and Harry Wills. Wills has been all over the back there, and that is Ouellette that they've been able to drop a little bit, but Ouellette better under the binders there, coming down into turn 1. That's going to be a little bit of a saving grace there for him, but still finds himself about 0.5 of a second off.
Yeah, Ouellette doesn't quite seem to have the pace of Harry Wills and Sean Campbell here, who both seem to be really quite evenly matched. It is difficult to tell because of the draft, of course, just how quick these guys are, but you can tell, you can pick up little clues. You can just see the amount of car lengths between Wills and Campbell is different to what it is between Ouellette and Wills. It does indicate that Wills is a little bit quicker than Ouellette, and Campbell is as well. Although we pretty much could have guessed that earlier on. Now the real business end of the race is coming up. Just how are they going to play it? Didn't quite get the grandstand finale that we were hoping for in race 1. Are we going to get it for this second race?
Well, it's all going to depend on that fuel strategy. Is Sean Campbell able to save enough fuel up at the front of the field? Is Harry Wills been able to save enough there behind to be able to make advantage of everything? We will have to see. This is going to be very, very interesting. Wills looking like he's got a little bit of a run here, but once again backs off again, probably saving a little bit of that precious commodity known as fuel as they break down into Le Mans. I would not be surprised here at this point. We're getting into that window, 32 minutes down in the race. I've got to think pit stops are going to happen here sooner rather than later.
They must be. Although with the amount of fuel there Harry Wills is surely saving, he might be able to go for quite a while yet. Got to be coming up soon though to these pit stops, and Campbell's coming in here, I think. He is indeed. Campbell is in. He made that very clear from very early on. He has been leading for the longest time out of the three of them, and so he's had to come into the pit lane. We'll have to keep very close eye on how long this pit stop is.
Yes, we will. I'm a little surprised to see Campbell in here earlier, but he has been in the front breaking the air for everybody. There is your leader in the AM category right now. That is Jeff Carollo leading the way here in the Lamborghini. He's got a gap of about, let's call it 1.5 seconds back to Braden Maling. So that is a very, very good run there for him. Carollo got something to hang his hat on.
Yes, it's been very impressive indeed. He had Melling in his slipstream earlier on, of course. He was able to break that, and now surely he's on his way to a second race win here this season. He indeed is coming into the pit lane as well. Been driving on his own for quite a long time, and so he's going to be in. I'm not so sure Wills and Ouellette will be able to go too much longer. Wow, Braden Melling had practiced that pit entry. Jeff Carollo certainly hadn't, because he's just given up nearly 2 seconds.
Yeah, he has a big, big gap there made up there, but this is going to be interesting now. Who's going to be able to be down there? A little bit of a hesitation there for Maling. Oh, and Carollo missed his spot, as did Maling, and Maling missed it again. Oh, that is race going to naught here for Braden Maling.
He cannot get that car into the right position to get service. Now he finally has, but that's cost him so much time. Delano's going to gain on the both of them as well here, which is pretty concerning for the both of them, really. Melling indeed is going to be jumped by Delano. Is he? It looks like it. No, no, not quite, actually. Not quite, but he will certainly gain on the both of them. Rolo will exit the pit lane now. 17 seconds in the box for him, so it was for Justin Delano as well. Braden Melly is saying on our timing that he wasn't actually able to get service at all. I hope that's not true, because that's not unheard of. Sometimes our timing does not register it, but if Braden Melling got service at all there, as the three leaders now come in.
Yes, they do. Tenorio, Ouellette, and Wills all in pit lane. I've got my eyes on Sean Campbell as he exits through NASCAR 4 right now. This is going to be the battle for the lead of the race. Wills is out and on his way as Campbell crosses over the start-finish line. Campbell's going to be able to carry a lot more speed. Remember, this is a slow, long pit lane here. This could get a little bit close. They're going to be released as Campbell there comes behind, and it's going to be the jump. That's going to be Wills and Ouellette able to get ahead of Campbell, but Campbell's going to have something to say about it going down into the International Horseshoe. Tries to get to the inside there of Ouellette and gets the move done on the fresher tires, on the warmer tires.
He's made his life quite a lot easier there by diving down the inside of Ouellette. He only now has one car to pass rather than the two, who will be very difficult to get through on. Even one at a time would be really, really hard for Sean Campbell. So he's just made his life a lot easier. It was not too much in the pit stop times, really. Wills and Ouellette did have slightly shorter pit stop times, but I guess the gaps were so close before they came in that all it took was a very slight difference between the two of them, and that was going to change the position. That's exactly what's happened now. So you might be thinking, well, this is the same three, but they're just in a different order. Well, the fuel saving's out the window now. The racing can really begin.
Yes, it can. It is absolutely gloves off here for all three of them. They will know their fuel numbers. They will have hit them, and they will be working to try to get going as fast as possible. But I've got to say, Ouellette looks a little bit closer there coming down into Le Mans from Campbell as they go. Harry Wills looking like he's getting a little bit of breathing room up at the front of the field.
It does, but it's going to be pretty short-lived. The slipstream and the banking is just going to close things up quite drastically once again. He's still got a good 8 laps here to hang on, Harry Wills, so it's going to be a long race for him from here on in and towards the line. Campbell is so close. That Lamborghini is pretty strong in a straight line and already going for the move.
Already going for the move down to the inside of turn 1, but I think Harry Wills is going to be able to hold that out, and it does indeed look like that. Does he chop down? A little bit of a crossover there for Sean Campbell, looking down into the International Horseshoe. That's Ouellette looking for a little bit of a contact there between Campbell and Wills. That's going to send Wills offline ever so slightly and lose him a couple of tenths of a second.
I think he'll be concerned as well with just how easily Sean Campbell was able to get through there. Obviously, he can be forgiven for the always down the inside goes Jonathan Ouellette, looking to take advantage of this as well, and that's terrible news for Harry Wills, who's going to find himself at the back of the group if he's not careful. They get down the inside into turn 7, and this is becoming dangerous for the two of them. Luckily for them, Sean Campbell not able to get too far away, but a good fight between them. I don't think that's going to be the last we see of that, but Harry Wills yet on the inside line, although Campbell's going to give the slipstream to Ouellette to make them go side by side for longer.
That is some next level thinking there from Sean Campbell. Definitely playing chess there as they go, but it's going to be a battle of the late breakers now between Ouellette and Wills, and it looks like it's Ouellette who's later onto the binders. Is he may be able to get that car woed up going into the bus stop? Yes, he is, but loses a lot of time on exit. Further back in the field, here is John Casey trying to get by Andrew Rasmussen. I think that was actually Rasmussen just able to get by him as they crossed over the start-finish stripe.
I think you're right. Rasmussen is just recovering from the incidents he's had today. Not only in this race, I guess. He's had some in the past as well. Michael Fowler's found himself in the wall off of turn 2 there. He's gotten the power down too early, I presume, and just nosed it into the wall. Jonathan Ouellette now takes the lead into turn 1 himself. So thankfully Fowler's out the way. Ouellette able to go down the inside, and this fighting is really on now. We were waiting for this for the first half an hour. They stayed behind one another almost religiously. Now the fighting has happened, or has started at least. The gloves are certainly off, and they're going side by side everywhere.
Yes, they are, and Campbell literally just doing the same move that he did on Harry Wills on that previous lap, just sending the crossover down into the International Horseshoe, but it does look like momentum's going to be on the side of Ouellette here. Tries to carry it around the outside. That corner does crown away from you a little bit. You've got to be careful, and now it's going to be Campbell back up into the lead of the race, but there is Ouellette trying to take a wider line down into turn 7, carry a little bit more momentum, gets a little bit squiggly, and that's going to open up an opportunity for Harry Wills to get going. And now it's going to be a battle of who gets the draft here once again, and it looks like it's going to go to Ouellette. Now it's going to go to Wills.
Yeah, Sean Campbell is so clever with this. It's unbelievable the way he's giving the draft to the outside car there just to keep things close. But once again, Wills will back off on the way in. That wasn't really in the script for Sean Campbell. He wanted them to go side by side through the bus stop, but he didn't get his wish on that occasion. And once again, Ouellette is going to be very strong and powerful in towards turn number 1. This is just going to continue on and on and on till the very end. Just wonder whether any of them have worked out who would beat who to the line as well if they were in this situation on the last lap. That's got to be a consideration. It certainly was during the last race, interestingly for some behind. But let's see, 3 wide across the line. What on earth is going to happen this time?
Oh, careful, boys, as they break down into the corner. That's R.A.W.S Ranju there up ahead as well. A little bit of lap traffic that could play spoiler to this battle. It looks like Campbell's going to be able to hold ahead for now, but that check up there has allowed for Harry Wills to look particularly aggressive behind Jonathan Ouellette as they dive down into the corner. Ouellette a little bit later onto the binders. Almost contact there with the back of that RSR by butt kicker Lamborghini as they now get going, trying to see what they're going to be able to do. R.A.W.S Ranju trying to stay out of the way of these drivers. Campbell thought about a look down to the inside, but that's going to slow him up a little bit, and they're all going to concertina together here as they come through the Western Horseshoe.
Yeah, this is obviously just trying to run his race, really. And Vegetarians here, and trying to stay out of the way of the battle as well, of course. But he doesn't have to get out of the way entirely. Jonathan Ouellette made sure that he did, though, shoulder barging him completely through the left-hander. And so they're all through now. I think Vegetarians is going to try and latch onto the back, actually, and just get a bit of extra pace himself. But either way, it's closed things up nicely. And once again, there's going to be a big fight towards turn 1. It doesn't matter whether Campbell gets the best run he's ever got out of the bus stop chicane or whether it's the worst. He is going to be challenged in towards turn number 1.
Well, but we haven't seen Jonathan Ouellette be able to get the best ones. That's a car off in the background. I believe that's Andrew Hewitt that you just saw. And they're getting out of the way is Sean Campbell. Now, I don't think that's a slowdown for the 26. I think he may have just recognized speed coming on. As here is Andrew Hewitt. Too much speed, catches the grass, and that's going to send that car around. I think a little bit of incident fixation there potentially for Campbell could be what put him back in the pecking order. But now Campbell back on the attack here.
Yeah, I think he just got distracted, really, and it's cost him a place. Although he's straight back ahead of Wills once again, who's really rooted to the back of this group as Vegetarians, who gets things wrong out of turn 1 and gets into the wall as well. Andrew Rasmussen recovering and continuing to make up some moves. Just Sean Campbell, indeed, doing the same as well, not too far behind these guys. It's a remarkable race at the moment. We waited about half an hour for things to really kick off, but they finally have after this pit stop phase. Things have gotten very close. What happened to Vegetarians?
Yeah, I think just brought maybe a little bit too much speed down into the corner. Maybe clip of the grass there. Yeah, just got under the throttle, and that looks like a little bit of tire spin there as we check back on Andrew Rasmussen trying to hold off Casey here right now. Kulaga trying to hold off Rasmussen. Rasmussen trying to go around the outside right now as they come to the backstretch here, diving onto the binders into Le Mans, and that is a great pass there by Andrew Rasmussen.
Yeah, nice pass. I mean, he's expected to make some of these passes, really, because of where he's come from in this race and what he's doing. However, it was a nice pass into the bus stop chicane, and possibly about to be lapped by these guys as well, going at a real pace now, despite the fighting that's going on. Well, I'll say that, they are in the mid-43s, but they would certainly be able to go a lot quicker if they were trying to help each other out. But at the moment, they're just fighting really, really hard indeed. And even despite this, the Tenorio and Tim's behind, not really able to get involved. It is going to be between these three for the end, although I do feel like the Mercedes is now starting to fight over who's going to be second.
Well, a little bit of teammate there, or teamwork as you saw, as that was a bump draft that's going to send Jonathan Roulette up to the inside, and it's going to bring Harry Wills along with it. A little bit of a 1-2 punch there for the Twisted Racing Team teammates, and they're now going to block Sean Campbell from really being able to get a move. Now that's going to be Roulette down to the inside, trying to hold that line away from the Lamborghini driver. Gets it together nice and easy as they get onto the loud pedal, moving out of the International Horseshoe, but Campbell tries to fight back there, looking this way, looking that way, going into the kink. That's not going to play itself out. Campbell now is going to have a little bit of a look to the outside, going down into the Western Horseshoe, but the two Twisted Team Racing teammates are going to be side by side, preventing any sort of an attack from Campbell.
Yes, preventing him from going anywhere. You can see him weaving from side to side, almost frustratedly, wanting to get involved now, and once again not able to stick his nose down the inside because Roulette is taking strange lines. Now he's able to get underneath him for the banking, and so he'll retake second place at least. But this is just going to continue on. 3 laps to go when we get to the line, and it doesn't really show any signs of stopping.
No, it certainly doesn't, and this is the point in the race where you talked about a little bit earlier, as there we see Roulette trying to send a move down to the inside, maybe going for 1, maybe going for 2, going for 2, down into the bus stop. Can he get it all gathered up back up underneath him? Yes, he can. Good run there for Roulette. But the question is when they come to the line for that white flag, where do you want to be? We know how powerful this draft is. We know what it can do, and I gotta think you don't want to be leading outright.
Doesn't look like it really. Well, Cameron's about to get boxed in here actually. He's got the slipstream of Roulette, but Wills is alongside him, so he's going absolutely nowhere here. It's almost as if the Mercedes drivers are working together. Campbell trying to look down the inside, not able to. And I wonder if they're going to play this game until the very end, because otherwise Campbell's going to have to pull off a bit of a miracle to be able to get through. Just going to try and box him in at every opportunity they've got.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there, and it does look like some good team tactics. As you said, 3 to go at the line, though. Roulette now holding on to a 0.5 of a second advantage, but Campbell only a 0.1 of a second behind Harry Wills. They fly their way through the kink right now. Doesn't look like we're going to see any move, and indeed, Campbell not going to poke his nose going down into the Western Horseshoe. They work their way through the corner. Now, I did notice on the last run here out of turn 7 that either Wills or Roulette got a little bit squirrely getting onto the throttle. Now, that can happen with the change of surface here. Let's see if either of them have that problem. No, it doesn't look like it. We do have to keep an eye here, though, because Justin Delano's been charging his way through the field, and he's making a move on the AM leader of Carollo.
He has been absolutely charging here, Delano, and he's through to the lead now. I didn't think he'd be able to catch Carollo, but with that mistake in the pit stop, of course, a little bit of extra pace as well for Delano. He's been able to take the lead, and somehow he slowed that for turn 1 and 2 as well. Quite unbelievable. And so he's through to the lead of this race. Carollo won't let him go, though. This is going to be a fight between these two till the end as well. But Justin Delano looking to end off his victorious season on a dramatic high here at Daytona. With this result right here, it could be the clean sweep for the day.
Very well could be the clean sweep for the day that Delano's been looking for here. We've got a little bit of action up at the front of the field, though. That is Roulette and Wills playing a little bit of chicken, but here comes Campbell. Thought about making it 3 wide, and again, those Mercedes teammates playing the boxing in game, not giving Campbell the opportunity to make that run around the outside. I think that's very, very heads up. Definitely playing some 4D chess here are Roulette and Wills. They know their biggest threat is Campbell, and they want to mitigate that threat as much as possible.
They do, and it's bizarre to see this, really. I'm sure they're just all 3 of them just having fun at this stage, really. Not taking things too seriously. The championship is sewn up and has been for a long time. And so, yeah, I'm sure they're not taking this too serious at all. Especially Wills and Roulette are in the same chat at the moment, so they're certainly chatting about it and laughing about it between themselves, or having fun at least. I don't know if John Campbell's mindset at this point. I think he'll be fairly relaxed about it, really. He is going to be the title winner. As long as nothing untoward happens, I think he will just enjoy the battling, but it is going to be hard for him to really get through here.
Yeah, I certainly think it is. He's got to have something really up his sleeve to be able to pull this off as they go. Breaking down now into Le Mans, waiting to see what the launch off the line is going to be like here for Ouellette and Wills. Remember, Ouellette's been suffering a little bit of launch fatigue, let's call it. Not being able to get the best launch off at the corner, but very good being later on the binders, going down into the corner. They're pretty well separated out, though, here as they come out of NASCAR 4 right now. Waiting to see. There, Wills pops up to the outside again, playing the blocking game. Campbell's going to try to make this 3 wide. He is going to make this 3 wide as they come across the stripe. I don't know if Campbell's going to do it. Contact there with Wills as they dive down into 1.
Well, that could have been very dangerous indeed. It could have ended like we saw with race 1, with no fight at all in the end. It looks like we're going to get one. We are on the final lap. 3 wide across the line that time, but Campbell not unable to make enough progress, and Will's defending enough here to give Ouellette maybe the advantage that he needs to win this race. But let's see, Campbell once again trying to make his way through, and surely this means that neither of them will be able to win this race if they battle side by side like this. Campbell is down the inside now. He truly believes he needs to be in second place, and he's probably right really, but has he cost himself too much time in getting that place?
0.6 of a second here. He's got to focus on 2 braking zones and 2 exits. Turn 7 that he works through right now, and then the exit of Le Mans. It's 7.5 of a second up to Jonathan Ouellette. Is he going to be able to hold on to it? We go back and we check out a replay here. Dean Timms looking like he got into something a little bit bad through the rest of the field, going down into turn 7, and that Mercedes finds itself spinning around up at the front of the field. Right now, the gap holding at about 0.5 of a second between Campbell and Ouellette. Here they go down into Le Mans. Has Campbell timed this right? Is he going to be able to get the run? They come out of Le Mans right now. Harry Wills is going to be all over the back here of Campbell, though. Could that throw a little bit of a fly into the ointment? It's only 0.3 of a second as they thunder their way through NASCAR 3 and NASCAR 4. Here comes the charge from Sean Campbell. Going up to the high side is Ouellette. Going down to the low side is Campbell. Here comes Wills up the middle. It's going to be a 3-wide finish, and it's going to be Campbell at the line.
Unbelievable 3-wide finish to end off the season. Sean Campbell winning once again, as he has done so often. It is remarkable in such an unpredictable race like that, in such a battle like we've had with those 3, that the best driver came out on top once again. In all of that unpredictability, Sean Campbell wins again. The 3 of them separated by less than 1/10 of a second.
Oh my goodness gracious, as we wait here for R.A.W.S to come across the line as well. I think we need some water and some straight oxygen up here in the commentary booth, because that was about as electric of a finish as you could potentially imagine. Justin Delano looking to be able to hold off Jeff Carollo here. This could be another run to the line.
Could be. Carollo's close enough here. I didn't think he would be, but he's certainly close enough to try and gain on Delano, who hasn't had great straight line speed all day long. A little bit too much wing. The Porsche not great, and so Carollo's going to try and go through here towards the line.
I don't think he got it. I think that was still Delano, and it was by the merest of margins, 0.16 of a second.
So close between them. Carollo nearly able to, and so close between these 2 as well, my goodness. Casey Metzger on a bit of a recovery driving. He did get that top 10 eventually. Stephen Martinez, you'll be wondering what could have been here in this race, but yeah, 2 very, very close finishes for the win. But in the end, it's remarkable that the championship winners have been race winners here as well. It's such an unpredictable race, but even so, you know, some would say the luck is on their side, but it's just such strong drivers that whatever challenge is thrown at them, they will rise to the top. Sean Campbell and Justin Delano show that too, as just their 2 very, very close finishes.
Very close finishes indeed. And now, as all drivers have crossed over the start-finish line, let's run you through that final finishing order. Campbell able to take victory by only 36 of a second, and Ouellette less than 1/10 of a second behind Wills. Then it was Dan Tenorio, Dean Timms, R.A.W.S, and Jeremy Littleton, who unfortunately wasn't able to make it to the end of this race. But what about the AMs, Ewan?
Well, it was all that very close finish indeed between Justin Delano and Jeff Carollo. In the end, the AM champion took it by an even closer margin, under 2/100ths of a second. Braden Melling and Matthew Plaisance weren't that far apart either in their battle for third. Andrew Rasmussen recovered to the top 5 ahead of the Kulagas of Eric and Michael. John Casey was the final driver on the lead lap, ahead of Shreyas Venkataraju and Casey Metzger. Surprising to see them in 9th and 10th. But after the incidents we saw, maybe not so much. Stephen Martinez just missed out on the top 10, as did Daniel Florea. Andrew Hewitt didn't get to the end, neither did Michael Fowler, Fabian Potts or James Hebb.
All right, and that is unfortunately going to wrap us up not only for today, but for this season as a whole here for the World Series Leagues. It has been an absolute pleasure to bring you all of the racing action from beginning to end and culminating here in this absolutely fantastic finale at Daytona. But on behalf of all of the production team and all of the work that goes in behind the scenes, as well as the commentators here today, myself, DJ Clark, and Ewan O'Leary, with our director and producer, Daniel Handover, behind the scenes, as it has been just a great day to be able to bring you the racing action. And until we see you on the track, thanks for watching. Oh, as I'm being told here that we actually are lucky enough to be able to have a couple of interviews coming up here to join us. And first and foremost, it is going to be your winner of the day and your championship winner on the season, Sean Campbell. First off, I got to ask you about the race after that pit stop. That looked like tooth and nail, but some of the most fun racing I can imagine.
Yeah. It was good. It was after that pit stop, it went from being play lame, win game to like an actual sprint race, which was very fun.
Very fun indeed. And I want to ask you a little bit about sort of plotting on that last couple of laps. Did you want to be in that position? Did you want to be riding around behind a couple of the drivers to try to get the tow, or where were you trying to position yourself on that last lap?
I mean, ideally, you want to be in second place, right? Like on the final lap, either if you want to overtake them into the bus stop so they get a bad run and can't draft past you, or you get the draft on them and then pass them at the line. Harry almost had it. He almost did it. If he would have gotten a slightly better run out of the bus stop, I don't think it's possible because of the dirty air, but if he would have, he might have got me. But that's technically a 3-wide finish, right?
Oh yeah, very, very much so, a 3-wide finish, and you know, you have really dominated this season, really from start to finish, and it's been great to see. I'm wondering if there are any highlights for you, any major takeaways that you can really hang your hat on, or were just great moments out on track.
Mostly the battles with Harry. He's been up there the entire time, and Le Mans was good for the first race, and then I got a little too ambitious. And then, like, basically every race. I don't have to go into detail, but this one was good. The one earlier in the EU race was also really good.
Well, I certainly have loved being able to watch you over the course of the season, Sean. And for today and for the season, anybody you'd like to thank?
I want to thank Harry for being a sneaky devil and dragging me in here. When I asked him to drag me into a different chat, and he dragged me in here. And Alex, I guess, in the EU series, because he's been a good teammate. He's just been destroying it. So congrats to him. I guess that's it.
Well, all right, there you go. That is your winner from today and your championship winner, Sean Campbell. Congratulations again, my friend.
Thanks.
All right, Ewan, it looks like we've got a couple other drivers here waiting for you, and I leave it open to you on who you want to talk to.
Well, we've spoken to the pro winner, so why don't we go with the AM winner next? Seems logical to me. Justin Delano joining us now. Justin, welcome to the booth. A nice win for you here at Daytona. I mean, it was very, very close here in race 2, I think it's fair to say. Just what was that last lap like?
The last lap was crazy because I messed up the bus stop. I think the whole drive in general was really good for me, especially getting spun early and making that comeback charge.
Yeah, it was very impressive indeed, and very good to watch, certainly. I mean, what's this season been like as a whole as well? I mean, You've ended up champion, of course. It was all but confirmed going into today. What are your overall thoughts on the season?
The season was, I mean, it had its up and downs, but when I was doing good, and today was one of those days for sure.
Absolutely. It's been great to watch you all season long, Justin, and here tonight as well at Daytona, running up towards the front of the field. Congratulations on a couple of victories tonight, and congratulations on the title as well. Thanks for coming to have a chat with us.
Thank you for the broadcast, and thanks to all the admins and the guys on my team.
Our pleasure indeed. Justin Delano, victorious here in the AM category, just at Daytona. I can't even get my words out. In both of the races here tonight in the AM class, DJ.
Yes, indeed, and it looks like we've got the driver who finished second to him, Jeff Carollo, joining us here on the booth. And Jeff, I got to ask you, talk me through that last lap. That was an epic run to the line.
That was one drive. I don't know what Delano did, but he gained about 4 seconds on me in the pits, and he had some sort of pace. I'm going to be completely honest with you. So I was when he got on my rear bumper, and he passed me like two laps before finish, and in the final lap I had to run on the bus stop, and I was like clinching my wheel, like shaking if I could push a little extra mile an hour out of my car. But it was a good run. It was a really good close run with him.
I mean, it's been a little bit of an up and down season for you here across everything, but any highlights, anything that you're particularly proud of or that you really loved out on track?
So like you said, it's been an up and down season. I've had a lot of races where I do well and I make an unfortunate mistake or get tied up in something. Honestly, Daytona, this is probably one of my favorite runs this season besides Le Mans. I had a chance to lead Le Mans twice because they had red flagged it. Other than that, like I said, it was a good exciting season. Good connection with the team. Me and Team Vulture had a great time chatting, getting setups ready, and getting going for the rest of the future for next season.
Well, I know I'm certainly looking forward to that next season for you guys, but is there anybody else that you'd like to thank here for this season and for today?
For sure, I want to thank my team, Team Vulture. I want to thank Delano and the other boys that we practice with for pushing each other on quality and practice days and everything like that. Without the battles like we had tonight, we wouldn't want to push to go any faster. And thanks for Harry and you guys putting on the league and broadcasting it. Thanks for it all.
Well, thank you. When you guys have a finish like that, it makes our job easy, let me tell you.
Yeah, I hope so. Hope so. It was good. Hope it was good for you guys.
All right, thanks, Jeff. That was Jeff Carollo, your second place finisher in the AM category, and it looks like we've got one more interview waiting for you. Braden Maling, our third place finisher in the AM class.
Yeah, we'll complete the set with the podium on the AM class. Braden, welcome to the commentary booth. Good to have you here. Tell us a little bit about that race. I mean, it was very unfortunate for you. We saw the incident in the pit lane, of course, where you just couldn't quite get into your box properly. But what was the race and the night like for you overall?
Well, I'm not gonna lie. I really wish you didn't see that because that was just so embarrassing. That one, my best explanation is obviously I managed to close the gap right on Jeff going into the pit lane, and then I just got caught out not realizing he was right behind me, so I didn't want to hit him by accident, so kind of messed up where I parked my car. So yeah, that was fun. But no, the race wasn't too bad. Like I managed to get a really good start off the hop, managed to pull away, and then just I was able to keep the car in one piece. Like that's the main thing around Daytona. It's similar to Le Mans. You gotta keep that car in one piece. When it's in pieces, you go slow.
And of course, you selected the BMW for your season. I mean, in the AM category, there was quite a lot of variety in the different cars that were chosen. In Pro, it was a little bit more simple, but in AM there was a lot of variety. How did the BMW treat you over the course of the season?
The BMW, best way I can describe it is a jack of all trades. It doesn't really excel in any particular area. You also suffer a bit from understeer, mainly due to the nature of it being front engine, but I have to say BMW did do a wonderful job balancing that car weight distribution wise, because it's not as bad as it can be. I've driven some really bad front engine cars before. But I mean, the BMW, it just did what I wanted it to do. It could have been picky at times. That rear end did have a habit of kind of kicking out if you're a bit too aggressive, but not as bad as some of the other cars like the Porsche or the Ferrari.
Absolutely, it served you very well indeed throughout the season. It's been great to watch you all season long as well, Braden. Congratulations on another good night here at Daytona, and thanks very much for coming to have a chat with us.
Well, thank you for having me. Now I got to get to another race right away.
Oh, great. Congratulations. Braden Melling, third place here today at Daytona, and that will just about do it, DJ.
Yes, it will, and that will officially wrap us up for this season and for our coverage here of the World Series League GT3 Championship. Again, it has been an absolute pleasure to bring you all of the racing action, and on behalf of myself, DJ Clark, Ewan O'Leary, and our director and producer, Daniel Handover, until we see you on the track, thanks for watching.